Yep, mic's working. All right, excellent. Next step. Camera. Camera. What are you doing? There we go. Howdy, folks. Cody here with IronVerse Comics, and it's been a bit of time. I don't know the last time I've been here. I hope you're doing well. Coffee, Cody, comics, all that fun stuff. We got an interesting topic today. We'll see how it goes. It's it's one that kind of aggravates me a bit. But at the same time, like there's no harm to it unless it became an official thing. So we'll be talking about that. Maybe we'll talk a little bit on updates on the campaign, all that fun stuff. But we'll see if we have time. It's got to be a shorter one today. So while I'm waiting for folks to stop on in, stop on by, I'm gonna go ahead and throw on some tunage. Tunage. Bum. Also, as always, don't forget to say howdy in chat. It's kind of a necessity around here. Oh, that's not where I want it. So this way. That'll do. Ooh, some wild arms today. All right, sure. All right, yeah, it's been a while. The camera's not all that set. There we go. That works. That works. It's fine. About as good as I can expect, right? Okay, so as you saw in the title, this is about standardized comic scripting. Now, I haven't looked at this article. I haven't checked this out, so I can't speak to how ridiculous it is yet. But we're gonna do that here, right? So we'll see. Let me pull that up. It's just conceptually, I hate it. I hate to say it, but I do. I get it. So we'll get into it. We'll get into it. All right, here we go, folks. We're just gonna hop into it. Just gonna hop into it. See what kind of track we get for hopping into it. Ooh. All right, so this was announced today. I don't know these creators at all. Um, just kind of seems it's a very goofy thing. But let's read the article. Let's read the article before I make too many judgments. So today marks the official launch of the standard comic script. Shudder, which was built by cartoonist, editor, and educator Steens and writer, artist, and Z2 Comics senior editor Camilla Zhang. The SCS template aims to demystify the mechanics of the comic industry, provide a foundation that can be customized for the needs of each individual creative team, and help facilitate the establishment of an industry standard scripting that bugs me, that will eradicate miscommunication. Why do you need to? This seems like an inter-industry problem, not a creative problem. Best of all, it's available for everyone to use at no cost. None of that's all that best to me, but okay. All right. And Steve's worth a variety of other industry professionals, including David A. Walk. I don't know any of these people, in order to synthesize scripting techniques into a template that can provide a common foundation and open the door for more effective communication in the comic creative process. Finding the effective communication is your job as part of the team. That is not something you outsource. Okay. And a quote provided to Beat shared these thoughts about the SCS. Steens and Camilla's work standardized a crucial step in graphic novel making. Not only draws from the year's experience, but also pushes the field of comics forward. It puts shackles on folks. I don't get it. To learn more, you can watch this interview hosted by Prism Comics. Okay, whatever. Available to download now. Have you had a chance to check it out? The Beat wants to hear from. Okay, so no. All right. You can tell what kind of comics these creators were focused on in this creation process, however, just by the art and paneling there. But let's take a look at this. How to use. Each script element is color-coded and linked to a bookmark in the key. The key explains how each element functions within the larger script framework and how to best utilize that element. Once you understand the key, you can make a copy of this document and substitute your character names, panel numbers, etc. So this is overly complicated already. This doesn't demystify anything. It's 9 pages. They didn't even... Okay, so... Alright, I see what this is. I wish, Mrs. H, I'd have no issue if that's what this was. And also welcome. What this is an attempt to get the industry to adopt a acceptable standard in how a comic format should be accepted. You know, an acceptable standard for how a comic script should be written. The only positive I saw on this, it's definitely none of these things. The only positive I saw on this is that it would give, you know, people a jumping in point if they need that for how their scripts are done. However, as I've noticed, they don't have any. This is an attempt at, honestly, this is an attempt to get a name, right? Like, and so they're using their channels to try and get this off the ground. It highly doubtful that it would get off the ground. Comics in particular is such a free medium that these shackles, if they were to be adopted, would be a death knell for like a lot of creators. In the way that they think it would liberate folks so that, oh, now I know where to begin. It'll become, now this is where you have to begin. And that right there, like, that's why I'm doing the stream. That bothers the hell out of me. They have no authority. Even if it was accepted, it'd be accepted by editors in the mainstream, right? So there's no worry there for independent comics, unless you're worried about, you know, Image, Dark Horse, those higher level independent comic releases and publishers. Then that could also become a problem for that. My point in this is, like, I've read one of the coolest things. I've read, I don't know, dozens of comic scripts from dozens of different creators. And they all do what they need to do to communicate to their artist. Right? And, like, how about the scripting that's done by the artist writer that literally is just, I'm doing the layouts first, and then I'm drawing in what I want. There is no real script. Like, what effect would that have on them? It really bothers me. It's similar to screenplay form. Also, welcome Max. Thank you so much for stopping in. If this kind of thing were adopted by the industry, you'd start to see more and more homogenized and adherent scripts the closer you get to big money. Exactly. That's my problem with it. Though my co-editor at IronVerse Comics Coins has been doing screenplays forever. And that is even how he does his comic book scripting, is off of screenplay scripting. And he really wants me to adopt that format. So that I have a wider range of accessibility to my writing. The fact that that is a prerequisite for my writing or anyone's writing to find that higher audience, what have you, bothers me. It bothers me greatly. So yeah, I get you. And as you're saying, like, yeah, they'll accept that. So that's my worry with comics in particular, like big money in comics. But at the same time, we don't have producers and investors in comics. That's just not a thing that really occurs. We have folks who are in companies that then green light money going one place or another, which similar as like a studio head, right? But a little different and certainly less money involved. Um, Mrs. H also agrees. She doesn't think she's seen two scripts written by the same way. It opens the door up to more communication between you and the writer. See, that's my problem, is they think, right here, this was the only point that could be argued that I agreed with. But the term they use right here scares the shit out of me. You don't use the term eradicate lightly. there's a harshness and a darkness and an arrogance to the word eradicate that scares the shit out of me. Now, this is an article written by somebody else, most likely, right? By Avery Kaplan. So it's unlikely that Steens and Camilla Zong or Zhang, I'm not sure, apologies, intended that word to be used, but that word being used in terms of miscommunication in an artistic form where the team is built upon communication, and most teams are built long before they enter the industry, that spooks the shit out of me. You can get really loose with screenplay format, but it will be made more adherent the closer you get to big studios executives. Yeah, that's the bingo. It's just a device to move make the big money feel safe, right? Oh, there's no worry here. I'll make my money back. In art, my God, cowards, a lot of them. And this is kind of cowardice too when you're trying to control this. We are going to absolutely destroy and kill creative friction, right? Right? Again, the article was not written by this person, but I have no idea if he's quoting them or not. Um, Eradicate. You take that word. Fuck, you don't use that word, man. Not in an artistic standpoint. You use it in a military standpoint. You use it in an extermination standpoint. Oh, okay. Anyway, best of all, it's free. Don't worry, nothing free's ever been bad. Um, it can also help the writer come up with ideas or aspects of the story that he just hadn't considered before. The dialogue, words are valueless. I don't know why people think that they have this ultimate meaning when they're put together. Words are valueless. They facilitate telepathy between two individuals. That telepathy, that idea, that communication is the value. The words simply facilitate it. This, and we'll look at it, it's only 9 pages. Only 9 pages, right? So it's not like this big, like they worked really hard on this thing. Um, it looks like they just put their they put their standard on how they write it and said, this is how it should be done. And then they're using their leverage and connections to get the word out on how this should be done. And you can tell the kind of comics they are interested in writing. Uh, by the examples they show, which are more slice of life, grounded comics. Where you ask Alan Moore to write a comic like this. Fucking read a Grant Morrison or an Alan Moore script. They write you a goddamn novel as the artist. This doesn't really facilitate that. And again, using the word eradicate miscommunication. That's a thought police set of terms. I don't like that. Welcome, Draw Talk. Ugh, you just got finished watching. They had 22 minutes. They could talk about this for 22 minutes. I don't think I'm gonna be able to, except for just bitching on why people need to use this. Ew. Also, what if, as an artist, you don't jive with the format they're promoting? Exactly. That's my problem. And again, this will not affect creator-owned, truly independent comics. It can't. The bonds between artist and writer, between creative teams, are much stronger than a industry standard format. And the nice thing about comics is you don't need to get approved by the big money like you do with film to facilitate the creation of the art. So this is toothless. This is completely toothless. But at the same time, it bothers me that somebody had the arrogance, the gall, the sheer chutzpah's too potent, but it's a reckless abandon to shove their head into comics and say this is the way the industry should write comics. Whoo, whoo. Download. It's literally nothing new. Yep, you've seen the script layout with Jim Zub and the others. Exactly. It's nothing new. It's not original. Brian tells Luigi to go crazy and have fun. He gives a couple lines of dialogue, maybe 2-word setting or motion. So here. I've got 45 minutes or so at best to stay. So I will show you. I will show you such sights. No, I'll show you one of my scripts. And it, again, this is between... Okay, so what bothers me is it's a third party inserting their will in the intimacy of a writer-artist dynamic, their relationship. That's what bothers me. In an industry where that has never been needed, some people have the gall to step in the middle of a relationship to try and make the industry tougher and less facilitating to those relationships. That bothers the hell out of me. Draw and talk. You're a writer creator. I mentioned that earlier. Some folks, especially the writer creator, writer drawers, writer artists, they just put down the art. Right? Like, they have no script. A lot of the time. Sometimes they do. Sometimes they do. They have specific ideas in mind. But that's up here until they lay it out on the page. And again, what? You're trying to make the industry less accepting to outside and varied formats like that. So, like, what if you wanted to present a name, right? A name, however it's pronounced, a storyboard of your bit instead of a script? Does this eventually stand in the way of that being a possibility? Would you need to have written a script instead of doing your wonderful art the way you know it? Like, to step into the industry? It's insane. It's insane. And again, I believe it 100% toothless. You can look at the work that these folks put out, and you can see the crowds that it is trying to appeal to. At the same time, I'll play a little bit of devil's advocate in the fact that some people need structure to function. Some people will be able to make comics that would not have thought that they could because they found a standardized comic format. Now, my opinion, those kind of folks probably should not be in comics. Simply because the lack of creativity is apparent from the fact that you need to be handheld from the get-go, right? But at the same time, I think everybody deserves a voice. Whether or not that voice is heard, that's a whole different other story. But they deserve to be able to speak. So if it facilitates more speech, great. If it actually facilitates more speech for the less creative and makes the higher level of creativity less acceptable to the mainstream, then, you know, that's a net negative for comics. And it's a hard one, but creative shackles will be something I consistently rage against. Our work, the work I do at IronVerse Comics, could not exist under shackle. Templates like this actually limit freedom of expression, I agree, which is really what these people want. They just want to control creators. I agree. We saw that in the image rebellion, the image unionization. They want to control creators, even if they're not creators. Zong is a piece of work, honestly. She sucks. I have no idea. I don't know these people. You don't even write scripts. You only write, yep. If you're a writer-artist, why write out the scene or layout when you could thumbnail it? So... Again, I don't think they're going to be Again, I think this is toothless, so I'm not like freaked out about it. But again, I think the arrogance of it all like needs a little bit of a call out. Like it is undeniably arrogant to try and impose shackles and call it freedom. Um, we've seen that again and again in history, and this isn't to those levels, of course, but the parallels, the metaphors that are possible with what's being done here. Again, that's why I'm doing a stream. I wasn't gonna stream today. I wasn't gonna. Like I did not want to. And I came across it and I was like, what? Somebody's gonna do that? So I have other scripts from other folks I wish I could show you along, but I'll show you one of mine. And I'll show you how they've evolved as well. So I'll show you the issue number 4 script, but only up to points that have been spoiled already. Because it's my most current script. It's how I do scripting now. And I'll see if I can find the issue number 1 script. I might not be able to, though. Oh, you know what? I know where it would be. So I'll show you my issue number 1 script, my issue number 4 script, and you'll see the room for evolution that occurred within my own boundaries and my own creative potential. And how it already relatively conformed to the format they're putting out, except it wasn't under some kind of boot heel, right? It wasn't under like, well, someone's gonna enforce this now. Okay. Anyway, which again, I don't think that. I think it's complete. Comics is terribly inept. I really don't think it'll enforce shit. Even the Comic Code Authority was terribly inept, and it was their way to save their own asses. Okay, so I've got script 1 and script 1.5. We'll go with 1.5. Alright. So, how to my sketchbook? We are complaining about a pair of individuals trying to enforce a standard to scripting for comics in the industry. So, this was, I called it Final Draft. So this is like the cleaned up script. We called it something. I never probably will use that. This is all I needed to tell Maxie right there. This is done on freaking RTF, right? It's not a big deal. We didn't use this back. We didn't use this at all, right? Like I cut that once. The script is barely a blueprint is the best way I could put it. In my creative process, the script is a blueprint for Maxie at best. Once you get boots on the ground, once it's actually being drawn, well, what's that phrase? The greatest plan, basically, no plan survives contact with the enemy. Right? So once you're actually doing the work, it doesn't matter. It's a blueprint, it's a guide, it's the goals you want to achieve. But the rigidity of an enforced scripting format changes the adaptability of the writer-artist format fundamentally. Because the writer's goals now are no longer to facilitate communication, or no longer primarily to facilitate the communication of the idea to the artist, but to facilitate the understanding of the idea in general to whoever might read it. And there is a difference there. Again, this, like I said earlier, this idea of imposing a standardized format is a way for the industry to step between the writer-artist relationship to make it easier on the business end of comics to understand comics, and make it harder on the creative end of comics to create comics. It's very bothersome to me. But this is how I did it, right? I didn't say it's a full page, and you say it's a shot, and then I put some dialogue, and then I did it how I did it. Very simple. It's very similar to how they're talking about. It's just not color-coded, right? And I have the panels numbered by what number they are, period, in the book, which is pointless. I change that later, right? Dialogue is usually Like I'll introduce a character and then I'll end up putting the abbreviations of their name, all of that. So this made our issue number 1. If you read the script and you looked at issue number 1, a lot of things did not make issue number 1 because, well, artistically, Maxie has a much better comprehension of how to tell stories in a comic book format than I do. The boots on the ground, the field commander knows more about the battle that's occurring than the general overseas. Okay, that's just how it goes. It's just how it goes. Welcome, Eliza Barr. Yes, Notepad. I wrote most of this on an old school laptop I had for a while. All right, so this is an old scripting format. It's not the cleanest, it's not the prettiest, and if you were my artist, maybe you wouldn't love it, but Maxie somehow does it. So we have that, and then we have my more current way of doing scripting, which of course is through Drive, through Docs, right here. So this is the thing that bugs me about a standardized format that I think would change the dynamic. Is once it's standardized, the deviation from it by the artist can be spookier to the writer and could be, honestly, it could be spookier to the artist too as they're looking at it. But for me, right, images include for artistic inspiration, but as always, your vision takes precedence, and do not take the images too literally, which Maxie did not do. So, people have seen the first 4 pages of this issue, first 5 pages, because he turned pages 2 and 3 into a double-page spread, and cut a few panels. Again, like all of this, pointless communication, just so Maxie understood like where to start the scene, more than anything. That is going to make it into the book. I want to do a few more old quotes in there because there's a few. You don't have room to talk. You do most of your writing by hand, pen to paper, and all, right? Stephen King does the same thing. Most of his novels were first written by hand, at least the ideas and the crux, the plots, the summaries, and the characters, right, before he jumps into and just murders that typewriter. So everybody, standardization in art kills creativity. Period. It does not facilitate anything except for the businessman feeling more comfortable with art as a commodity. Okay, anyway. So we do all this, right? And then boom, it's very similar to my old paneling, but now instead of labeling each panel separately as a number of panels, so I knew how many panels were in the book, which was pointless, it's panels per page, right? And the main difference here is, again, now I just use a narration box, and then I'll use a few more images for inspiration. That's all. Like, this facilitates it. You folks have seen that. This was page 2 and 3. And we got something like that, too, actually. Something closer to that. And we saw that. That's big page 4. I love it. That was the idea scale, right? And this does the job just fine. We saw that too. And that's as far as folks have gotten. So I'm not going to go to page 6. But you get what I'm saying is shackles in one of the most unshackled mediums left. I'm not on board. It's the kindest way to put it. I am not on board. Will not pass go. I will not collect $100. You go straight to jail. But it's again, I think it's toothless. I think it was 2 creators' attempts to stand out by using their connections because their work was not standing out because, well, look at their work. Like, that lettering's okay. You don't usually want to use these big wide bubbles like that. But okay, that's a small criticism. That art's better than I can do, but I'm not an artist. I don't know, folks. The good this can do And I believe there is some good this could do. Again, I think it people who are too scared to jump in because they don't know where to start, this is a starting point. It is another starting point. It is a unnecessary starting point, and I think jumping in with your own creativity is a much stronger starting point. But I mean, it could help some folks, but the potential for harm, I think, is much greater, significantly greater. And I don't mean harm as in like somebody's feelings getting hurt or something like that. I mean to the creative potential of the entire medium and its ability to reach folks, creativity to reach folks through this medium. That this could threaten, and that is terrifying. Again, I think it was just a jump at relevancy, and I think it'll go nowhere. I think it's 100% toothless. But at the same time, to be arrogant enough to try and impose that upon an entire industry, your will and your interpretation of how a medium with infinite potential can be done. Whoo! God damn, these ladies have balls. In the worst way. Fill that emotional bucket by inviting people in and saying thanks. I agree. I agree. So I don't know. I don't think. See how many times have you seen this person by now? This exact person. It's very weird. But will you be utilizing it in future collaborative sequential narrative projects? No. No, I will not. You can stick it. Hey, it's just I had to. I had to comment on this because this is like I've seen some arrogance in the comic industry. I got one more thing to talk about. We're gonna talk about arrogance in the comic industry. God damn, I'm not usually pissed off. uh, okay, composure, Cody, composure. Did I think I may have even decided last night not to talk about this. Yep, I did. I decided not to talk about this last night. We're gonna talk about it. Mr. Cates. Mr. Cates. Let me find him. There he is. Mr. Cates. Was Camille's Dang the former head of creative or something for Kiss? I have no idea. I don't know these people. I do not know these people, but if they are, then that also makes sense because that's another position of authority in which to try and guide a creative medium towards whatever utopia you deem is correct. Whew! Arrogance. All right, so let's talk about this because it is arrogance. Oh, did he delete it? No, sir. So it started with this, right? I have no problem with this. There's a bit of insecurity to it, but some people are uh, very interested in their appearance. Okay. Collaborative sequential narrative project. I hated that. I hated that very much. I didn't like saying that. like, I didn't like saying that at all. It's the gentlest, most corporate way to say comics. And they don't want to say comics because comics are for babies, so we make graphic novels. Okay, we're on to a different subject, though. We're on to something else that aggravated me. So, this from the beginning, no worries. Like, again, people can be really into themselves and their appearance. There's specific parts of my appearance that I am very interested in because it gives me strength and confidence, right? Totally get it. So I had no issue with this. New jacket, nails done, hair a mess, makeup running. Let's fucking do this, Italy. Ciao. Totally fine. Totally fine, right? Again, I have no issue with this. If you think you look pretty and you want to post it, good on you. I never feel pretty, so I don't post it. Totally fine. This, however. So, Leroy Brown responds, the Jack Kirby, Stan Lee, Steve Ditko's, George Perez's, and Gardner Foxes of the world would never walk around like this. That's why comics are dying. I disagree. So does Donnie, of course. However, Leroy Brown speaking for the dead. Then, Mr. Donnie Cates speaks for the dead. Both circumstances aggravate the fuck out of me. Alright, let me correct this for you. Comics are doing so well, I can afford to walk around like this. So then he gets arrogant. And he talks about all comics doing so well. Not his comics. Not my career is going so well. No, no, no. Comics in general are doing so well that I can afford to walk around like this. Whew! And I'm fairly certain that everyone will look very dapper. And I would be very happy for my health and happiness. You should give it a try. Now, speaking for the dead, for one. Two, you were literally talking about your makeup running and that you don't look bad. Like, you were insecure about your appearance, but you thought you looked pretty, so you wanted to have that reinforced, Donnie. You looked pretty, boy. Don't worry about it, bro. But no, no, no. Let's attack this guy with 3 followers because he didn't think you looked pretty and because he spoke for the dead. By speaking for the dead and leaning into your arrogance and speaking for all comics. And then you have the sycophants who come in. A lot of folks, and there's some people like, I mean, I get it. There's a lot of people like Donnie is one of the, if not the, well, one of the hottest writers Marvel has right now. No question. So you have a lot of people trying to network with this fella. I don't want to because of this line, personally. I think he is arrogant and insecure. I have not actually personally enjoyed the work of his I've read. But he is in a position of power and he is yelling down because someone didn't think he looked pretty and decided to say it in a way that evoked the dead. I get that, but then he responds by talking for the dead. And everybody lost here. Everybody lost here. Comics lost. I wrote and deleted a tweet calling Donnie out on this line in particular because it is so arrogant that he could speak for the entire medium when most creators, 98 to 99% of creators are not professionals. They put out work as a hobby and enjoy the medium as a labor of love, not as a gig, not as a career. And yet he can say that they're all doing so well that he makes all this money. No, Donnie, your comics are doing well. You're getting the Disney money, Donnie. Not everybody is. And again, like, Mr. Cates is one of the more reasonable folks in these positions. So I don't have a massive problem with him in general. But when it comes to this, and he is laying bare his insecurities in both his professional accomplishments and his appearance publicly by yelling down to a person whose tweet probably would not be seen by like 0.001% of his audience. It would not be seen by most people. And then using that as leverage to get this like, yeah, you got it, Donnie. You treat him like shit too. Like, there are no bigger men in creativity out there anymore. Like, it's really annoying. It's that in particular. And then again, he's like, well, I'm out in Italy. Donnie, it's not a good look. It's not a good look for comics. If you're trying to say comics are doing great, it is a war of perception. This is not how you win it, by being an arrogant, insecure, jerk to people who do not matter. Whether they're being a jerk to you or not, these people do not matter in the greater war. This is nuking a flea. You don't nuke a flea. You take the bite and then it dies in a couple days. Like, what the fuck? So it's that vibe the last couple days that has angered me. And I'm not usually, again, I try to be calm and composed. But I know that people do enjoy a little bit of, and, I've got that. I just don't want to use it because, again, it's this thing that does not often win the war of perception, which is the largest war we as a species are engaged in with each other right now, and probably forever, for since we started having to have social dynamics and networking. We've been engaged with these wars of perceptions with each other, and when we have something so magical, so fucking cool as comics, I don't like folks trying to control it. I don't like folks trying to speak for it. I don't like I don't like comics as it is. And, and this includes a lot of the dynamics of independent comics these days. Particularly creator-owned independent comics. A lot of the dynamics there are just as, if not worse. Just as bad, if not worse. But, anywho, that's what grinds my gears. Two things today. That one yesterday with Donnie, though. That one was like, I had this whole thing. Let me see if I saved it. Let's see if I saved it, and I don't think I did. Then I'll tell you what I was gonna say last night, because it bothered the hell out of me. I saw it. I was like, Donnie, don't speak for everyone. Most people these days are really hurting, Donnie. They're not going to Italy, Donnie. They're not dressing up in new jackets with very expensive makeup and going out on the town with their pretty girlfriend. Okay, Donnie? Like, it's cool. Like, there's nothing wrong with it, and I'm happy for you. But when you're arrogant and rude about it to people who do not matter, when you're at the scale you're at, when you notice the flea bites, when you are massive, that shows a terrible level of insecurity that honestly needs to be worked on. Uh, I am the Cates. I speak for the comics. I don't think that's what he meant either, right? Like, he has a very different perception of what comics is compared to me. Very different. Maybe 15, 20 years ago, Donnie and I would have had a very similar perception. But with the level of work that he's been able to achieve, and it has been achieved, I think Donnie Cates has earned his place by merit. Um, you know, he's going to Italy on comics, right? It's a different perspective of comics than, again, most folks, either comic fans or comic creators, which are, if you're a creator, you're often a fan. There's a few creators that are not fans, but they don't usually do so well. They might complain why they don't do so well, but you know why. You know why. It's because you don't love the medium. I think Donnie loves the medium, absolutely. And again, I think he's earned his place and he's earned what he's received. Like, I am not talking down on that. Okay, no, I did not save it. Good. It wasn't worth rehashing, but it was mainly talking about the fact that, you don't get to talk for everybody, Donnie. Not You are the vast outlier involved in this art form. Vast outlier. Um, and I think it's gone to your head a little bit, and you don't think you are where you're at, even though you're in Italy on comics money, enjoying yourself, which is what you should be doing. Again, congrats, man, fucking a. But don't nuke a flea. Like, seriously, it's a bad look. It's a bad look. It's a lot worse look than what that idiot was telling you. I don't expect there to be a code of conduct. Well, you folks haven't heard any of this music, have you? Well, it was for me. It set the mood for me. All right, you can start hearing music from now until I gotta go. But yeah, folks, that I don't know. I I want this place to be better, and I try very hard to make it better. I have a very small reach. I have a just an amazing assortment of blessings in this work, but certainly reach and influence is not one of them. And if you have that gift within comics, the power to do something amazing is great power, great responsibility, right? Um, George Perez, he did a excellent job representing comics without speaking for them. He acted on their behalf, both through his wonderful work and his beautiful interactions with fans. I have not seen a single bad thing spoken about Perez since his death. Um, it's only been a couple days, of course, but like you go to Miura, um, there have been, there were some faults in the man that you can find. Um, Neil Adams was very similar in that he was very opinionated, right, very strong about it, but he wasn't overt and aggressive about it. He brought it up. He would talk about it honestly. Um, Comics since Stan's passing, since Mr. Lee's passing, uh, has not had a figurehead in which to place upon a pedestal, whether it was the real man or the performance, and emulate. What we did, and it was a crime, what we did as a fandom is when Stan passed, we put the memorial in a dusty corner, and we've left it unattended, not reached for, pulled out from marketing stunts and gimmicks, puppeteered the corpse, but we haven't, for NFTs for God's sake at one point, um, but we have not looked at what the body of work and the performance actually accomplished during that time. Or if we have, no one has really taken that to heart and attempted to carry a small bit of that flame that was lit. Like, I can't point to anybody. I wish I could. And as we continue to lose more and more of those pillars that were holding up this structure, comics is going to degrade into a complete and utter nightmare in terms of interpersonal interaction. I mean, it already is, but I don't think we're as bad as it gets. um, the comics industry lays on its back, its belly baking in the hot sun, beating its legs, trying to turn itself over, but it can't. Blade Runner, maybe. It's a turtle on its back. Yep, I get what you're talking about. It's just cooking itself. And again, like, I don't have the arrogance to want. So, and that's the thing, right? So there's never going to be another Stanley. Just not going to happen. But it's impossible. It's just not how reality works. But that's not the point. The point is the attempt itself, the ascent upon the mountain, can be seen by others. And the more people attempting to ascend that mountain, the more that mountain can be seen. And that's all that matters. And again, I think we tuck these folks when they pass into the corner, and then we just, move on, because either it's too painful for some folks, right? Or it's something irreplaceable, so why burden yourself with it? But at the end of the day, it never leaves, and that's the point. So if it's not going anywhere and you're not maintaining it, you're not paying attention to it, we all lose. And if you're in a position of power, like Mr. Cates, or like these two individuals that we spoke of earlier with this scripting format, this attempt to control chaos, then you're gonna we're all gonna have a harder time. I want us all to have a good time and an easy time. I want our works to be available in as many places as possible. I want the medium to garner a respect. I would love the medium to be the medium that is the most welcoming and most creatively diverse on Earth. And I think it is damn close. It's damn close. I think video creation is the gold standard of that. There's just so much content in that it is a tidal wave that could not be held back by any standards except for the corporate ones that facilitate the platforming of that art. Whereas comics, you actually can more easily be your own platform, or at least build a platform off of other platforms that's strong enough to stand on its own come a judgment day kind of situation on one of them. And Cates came out independent comics. He had to struggle some point. I don't know why. Again, it's insecurity, right? He thought he looked pretty. Somebody responded that hurt like something that matters to him, which again was probably the speaking for the dead. It hurts me. And so then he prickled up and then bit back. And he has every right to. It's just, again, it's ugly. Nobody wants to see it. Or the people who do want to see it, there's so many sycophants. Always remember that word because it pervades any position of power, and when you can tell a lot from people about how they speak to positions of power. Do they speak in a questioning manner? Do they speak in a respectful manner? Do they speak in a complimentary manner? Do they speak in a insulting manner? Why are they speaking? We elevate so many people that I'm not gonna say don't deserve it, but that no honest human being can be what all these people see them as and have elevated them to within their minds, right? So at the same time, like, you're allowed to fuck around and find out, right? Like, that's part of the experience. But we can do better. We should do better. I want kids to want to make comics. I want adults to want to make comics. I want the poor to want to make comics. I want the rich to want to make comics. And acting like a jackass and nuking a flea wouldn't make me want to make comics. Comics make me want to make comics. Anywho, folks. Okay, let me read this. Hey, Arno. I'm not sure I'm going to be live much longer. Check the replay if you're interested on the more important stuff. My sketchbook says that's not true. There's plenty of Stanleys out there. The problem is none are in a position to make a mark as he did. That's probably true. Again, like if I'm saying Donnie has a specific perception of things, then that applies to me as well. So I don't see it. I see some very cool folks, but I don't see folks who can do the work even in their own way. That Stan was able to accomplish. And I get it, like you're saying, it's from his position, but, Stan going from Stan and Jack making Timely and Marvel into what it became, right? That is not much different than a lot of what people have, except they are staring at behemoths that were not there at the time Stan did, right? So we have giants to either avoid, suck up to, or destroy that they did. That's the main difference I see these days. Cody, we're all going to lose anyway. Entropy always wins in the end. This is very true. The industry will continue to decay until one day it collapses. Decades from now, it'll pick itself up, back up, and blossom. If I'm around for decades, that would be nice to see. If comics are around for decades, right? Art in particular is going to take a whack while humanity tries to figure out this very, very big thing that we're all dealing with that has many, many aspects, and all of it is very tough for the individual to face, but that's what it's going to take, because the multitude and plethora of groupings have no interest in facing it. They have only interest in facing each other. And ugh. You can end if you want. You can rewatch. Yes, please do rewatch if you find it interesting. I got about 10 minutes, then I gotta call it. That's because I didn't bring this up. Sketchbook. Donnie is indeed a contractor. He gets paid whether he's making comics or not. This is very true. Also not based on your sales, which yes, that is true. That's the whole point of the original CG. There were many points of OG CG. It's been such a mess forever. It was such a loose amalgamation of ideas that, basically since I smelt it, I was like, oh boy, well, it's a shakeup. I'll take a shakeup. And I watched what that shakeup did, and turns out not much. It helped a lot of indie creators. It helped a lot of ex-professionals stay professional on their own terms, for good and bad. It pissed off a lot of people, but at the end of the day, I don't think things are much different overall in the industry. I think now there's just another route, and there's a bad guy to point to. Yeah, there are many points, but that was the point of the main videos. Yeah, see, I don't know. I don't know about that. I say, when your spirit tip is aggression, I always have to question its efficacy and its ability to actually accomplish anything. Because anger is very hard to steer, and so I'm not sure if potential was reached, but in terms of what the ideals were, right? Anywho, it's my point, and folks will judge my entire career off of what I've been doing, right? And I have interacted with CG again and again and again, and the interactions I have had with the ground level CG creators has always been what I get from non-ground level, from ground level non-CG creators. There's not much of a difference in that. It's just they picked a team, right? But once you get into the higher echelons, everybody seems to be just, you can find reasons to dislike just about everyone. Artists are usually very egotistic because we have that level of arrogance to put our ideas into the world, and not only to think about it or start it or just do it for ourselves, but no, we're going to show the world. And in my case, right, we're going to get the world to pay for it. Right? So it's a hell of a thing. And people are always going to be a massive diversity of thought, which I am so very grateful for. It's just mob mentality. Anything that fosters mob mentality, I think, is a net ill for humanity. It shows our lack of imagination and our inability to cope with our actual true potential. It is a lot easier to herd sheep than to facilitate human growth. And we are far more practiced at herding sheep. When it was usurped by its pro members and colonies, create a small niche for itself with a bit of delusions of massive delusions of grandeur. They've been selling the same books to the same people for 4 years now. Some well-off people but it's the same people. In my case, I lost the audience between 3 and 4, but we've made more money, which is something I don't like in terms of like, I've wanted to grow audience reach each go, and have that be my pathway to making more funding instead of offering more items at a higher price and getting more funding from less people. Both are valid paths, and I have to reconcile that fact, but it's so rough out there. And again, I don't blame people for reaching for whatever bit of relevancy they could find. Donnie didn't need to nuke a flea to find relevancy. He's Donnie Cates. These two creators who are trying to impose the scripting format, they ain't Donnie Cates. This was a path towards some form of relevancy. I'm talking about them right now, right? I don't know who they are. So it worked to that level, right? I did blackmail you folks with guilt and art cards. This is true. Though I was, to be fair, so the sketch cards things were an idea I had asked about towards the beginning of the campaign if folks would be interested, and didn't get much response. But towards the end, I was like, you know what? Screw it. It's not gonna hurt. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Then Mrs. H, of course, jumped in and just increased the value of that, tenfold. An actual artist doing the work alongside my very very high lack of skills. And then Monk also threw that in. Now Monk suggested it himself to do that, and I can't say no to that level of help, right? Like it's disrespectful because the project means something to him as well, as it as maybe I do, and the work I do means something to him. And so if that's something he wants to do, then I need to respect that, even if I think it's the work itself may be unworthy of that level, or at least shouldn't have to rely on that level to get it done, right? But yeah, there's a bit of blackmail. There was a bit of blackmail. To be fair, let's see. To be fair, that only got us about a 14th of our goal. That is something, no question, when you have a 14K goal or whatever it was, but 13.5, so about 13th. It was about a K that the sketch card stuff got us. That's no small. That's under a K, right? 20 times 20. No, it was about a K, counting monks, right? No, it's under a K, just under a K. But it was something. It was something. The big ones were the original art, of course. The big ones were the big tiers, right? That I didn't expect to sell. The fact that we didn't sell that many just issue number 4s kind of sucks, because it's going to change my print run significantly, and people trying to get a hold of an issue 4 is going to be about as difficult as getting a hold of an issue number 3 is, like, right now. But it is what it is. But my main point is, man, please stay humble, stay hungry. I think that's the two things Donnie has forgotten. He has not stayed humble, and he's allowed that lack of humbleness to build a level of insecurity in his ego that justifies him swatting a fly with a nuclear weapon. Don't get so hungry and arrogant, and that's a very bad combination, as to try and impose a scripting format on an entire medium. And just make comics, man. That's all I gotta say. Just make comics. I want to read them. Just make more comics. Yeah, don't tell them they have a mob mentality either. That has not garnered any favor for you when you've done it. Yeah, I've said it before too, because I've seen it multiple times. When there's a mob, there's a mob mentality. That is what is forging that mob. You can use the term cult too. I've used that term a couple times, and it's not true, but for some folks in it, it very much is. They have a figurehead that they relatively worship as the gold standard, as their liberator. Man, is he a prick. But it is what it is. It is what it is. If there's any questions, I can stay another 5 minutes. Otherwise, I gotta call it. But I hope you folks enjoyed. This was impromptu, but that scripting thing, I was like, oh my god, I need to talk about this because it attacks a core foundation of what I most believe in uh, within comics, the creative potential. Like it just, I'm the gold standard liberator. I've liberated nothing. I've liberated the art from my head, the ideas from my head, and transmuted it into art that people will pay for. Um, that's wonderful. That is a hell of a type of alchemy that I didn't expect I'd be able to do, but that's turning paper into gold. But if I could, if I could, I want people to feel free to jump in to comics however they are able to. And again, so the only point that I can find to argue for the standard comic format is it will make comics seem less intimidating to creators who need guides. Now, comics, I think, again, functions much better without rigidity and without guides, but and just learned experience and finding your way to communicate your way through the medium. But I want as many people creating as possible. So best case scenario, this thing just helps some folks out. It makes them feel a little bit safer making comics. Worst case scenario, the industry actually wants to adopt this and it closes out a ton of extremely creative folks from expressing themselves, and we lose some crucial stories to humanity's ongoing story, and that's a hell of a tragedy. Um, well, Colt is even worse, even though it can fit. Nah, you wouldn't say he's a prick. I say his persona is prickish, unless you threaten his monies, then it's full scorched earth. So he's come on to one of my streams and called me a faggot. Um, so I'm not a fan of this individual. You can look at What You Read in 12 and see that fun bit where he was basically the only person in chat. Um, and see that kind of interaction. If that's his persona, um, to be able to perform that, yeah, he's a prick. I hate to say it, but I wish he wasn't. I wish this was a benevolent leader that is trying to oppose a negative standard, but it is not. It is another negative standard competing against a much bigger, giant negative standard, and none of it's good. But it is what it is. So enjoy, you enjoy your perception of him. Again, I have a different perception because he has directly interacted with me in very negative ways that were completely unprompted. So to each their own. But if that's how you're going to treat some no-name creator like myself, again, it's either a high level of insecurity, or somebody asked a favor of him and he felt he was wasting his time, so he got aggravated at that and decided to take it out on me. Either way, that is what we call in the business a dick move. I haven't finished my coffee, but it is what it is. But yeah, What You Read number 12, if you want my proof. It's right there in chat. No, I didn't get him directly on my show. I don't know why he showed up in chat. I have no idea why he showed up in chat and decided to try to rile me up. I don't know what was going on, but I just said I love the chat, and then he called me a fag. Um, I was very welcoming too. You just watch it. It's a very short stream. Because of that, he did. He did. If he was there to rile me up, he definitely shook me. And so I called it early. I couldn't stay on point. I wasn't enjoying the time because the only person in chat was treating me like shit. I have had no direct interactions with this individual. I've had fans try and suggest our work to him because they're also CG fans and they think our work's good, so they think it should be at that caliber and that level, so they try and convince that individual to support it at that level, which I appreciate from that very specific perspective. From any other, like, I don't want to be propped up by an ideology. I want to be propped up by the work. I want to be propped up by the message. Because what I'm trying to say, what IronVerse Comics and the creators under IronVerse Comics are trying to say is very specific. It's very important. And it is being said elsewhere. It's being said many, many different ways. It's part of a great ongoing battle against forces of darkness is the best way to fucking put it. And I don't care the volume the voice is hitting, just that the voice is finding the right people. And that individual in particular has proven time and time again to not be the right person. No. I've been there. I've been around CG longer than this individual. So people have known. People have known for a while. It's not these fans who are doing that. And I do appreciate it, right? It's a wonderful outlet that would allow more people to view the work. But again, it is not one I am very interested in pursuing at all. Like, I've known that these particular outlets, when taken as a collective, are meat grinders. Some folks graduate to doing the meat grinding, but like 99% of that system just is more meat. Very much like the industry itself, right? So at the end of the day, I I don't want to be a part of that. If I can do something better, great. If I don't get to do something because, it's just not sustainable, then that is something I can still learn from. This has all been a beautiful and amazing journey that I've been allowed to take part in because I had a dumb idea when I was a kid. I am ever grateful. And the infinite chaos that comes with it is just another level of potential and another level of is there a word for stimulus towards evolution? I guess it's best another stimulus towards evolution is the best way I can put it, but there's got to be a word for a factor that makes something adapt. But I can't think of it right now. But there's got to be a word. English is very, very large language. I love it very much. Again, I love words. I just think that we take them a little too seriously compared to the actual seriousness of communication. Like, that is way more serious than the words we're using. Okay, I guess I gotta go now. Do I? Yeah, I do. Oh God, you quoted me. Whistle's innocent winner. Okay, so I demand you erect effigies in my name. Now you just need to find. So here we got one today. So we got an effigy in my name already. So we're working on the cult. We're working on the cult right now. I do have to go, but this is worth it. We're working on it. I can't point towards things. Don't ask me to point. There you go. When you try to get people to stop worshiping comic creators, but you found a cult in the process. Ouch! But yeah, no, effigies in my name. I want a grand hallway filled with nothing but marble and gold, depicting Jack riding off into the sunset. That's what I want. Get on it. Don't make me get the whips. Nah, I'm kidding. Girls. But I appreciate that. That's the problem. Art needs cults of personality. It doesn't survive without them because it needs a lightning rod, something to circle the wagons around. something for multiple people to come together under a common cause. This will happen in anything, but art in particular needs it to survive. And so, I would not want to foster it myself, but at the same time, I need to if I'm going to be effective at all in any of this work. And it's another one. There's a lot of compromises, and that one is one I'm willing to make. There's a few that I would not be so willing to, and the reason why I'm willing to is because I can define how that is interacted with on my end, right? How that builds up, whatever personality cult it is. It's something that I can have an ongoing dialogue with. But there's a few other things that not so much dialogue can be, not dialogues can't be had with, and those are the things I do not want to foster. So it's tough. It's tough. But I appreciate you, Eliza. I appreciate you. Um, is there anything else? Nope. Okay. Okay, I do. I gotta go. I'm already a little late, maybe. That's okay. Appreciate you folks. I'm gonna try and maybe be back later today with some Elden Ring with dollar coins. He's been playing the heck out of it, and I gotta catch up. You check out his channel, Dollar Coins. He's got some clips from our live streams on there. He's been doing a lot of Elden Ring. He's been playing through it. I think there's like 27 hours or something of Elden Ring on there now. Some of it I played with him. A lot of fun. So check that out. I would love you folks to support his channel, because then that's just another IronVerse Comics set of content coming out, and I think it's really cool. I would like to update you folks on where the comics is, so I'll do it real quick. So if you didn't see the Indiegogo update, Maxie got married. I think halfway through the month before last, and then since he was on his honeymoon. But he just came back last week. He brought in, he was showing me finally that, he's gotten to work again. So I should be having some pages in again next couple days. This is the page in progress. So as those come in, of course, I'll be updating folks. We're going to try and streamline the process this go. So I'm going to go straight to the lettering script as the pages come in, so that it's ready to go to Vince once the colors are in. We're going to go straight to colors as well as soon as this next batch. I want to try and get Steve about 10 pages a batch because of how he's going to have to do the coloring alongside his other gigs. I want him to have a good amount of it to do, but not too much so that it feels overwhelming and he doesn't do it. So I'm going to try and balance that out. The funds did come in. That was the big one. So a couple days ago, I think maybe just yesterday in that update, I said, well, once the funds come in, let's do it. And then I today checked the bank account and we have the money. So we're going to full production. I'll be printing the prints are going to be easy to get done. I'll get those done as soon as I can. A lot of it also is trying to figure out with Wicked how delivery should happen, because I'd rather them not have to store everything for a good chunk of time while we're producing issue number 4. So I'm going to try and balance that out. But yeah, folks, we're moving forward. Next page of Jack is in progress, finally. I can't tell you how much that stall kind of bothered me. Show me the money! Bank account this money. And it's nice to see those numbers. That is more than I make in a year. Came in. Only about $500 more than I make in a year, but it's still more than I make in a year. And I certainly never have it in a bank account, right? So that's always mind blowing to see that for this poverty-stricken New Mexico kid. It's very cool to see that, and all the more humbling and a massive reminder of my responsibility to this project, the fans who support it, and the beautiful artistry that we are able to facilitate and get out to the world, even with mixed results in terms of communication on my end. All right, folks. I guess that's the best news I can got. I gotta go. Hopefully, the guy's not too pissed at me. I'm a little late, but not too late. So, yeah, thank you, folks, so much for joining me. And again, I might be on later with dollar coins. We'll see. If not, I would like to stream again. It's been a little bit, and this was a decent conversation that I felt I needed to have about those two versions of arrogance in comics. So, you take care. You have a wonderful day. Thank you all again. I'm going to try and finish this coffee. Yeah, chugging cold coffee. Don't recommend it. Iced coffee, maybe you can do it, but cold, cheap coffee. Woo! Injection of caffeine. All right, let me turn off this music. Catch you folks later. Adiós, vaya con Dios, amigos.